Welcome everybody. Today we're going to be diving into a topic that I think is really important. Now, my name is Jake Talbert. I'm the founder and author of this book called The GIVER Method. Now, what we want to talk about today is how you can stop waiting for approval. Whether that be approval from others or, trying to find the right way to give yourself approval to start living the life that you want to live. And specifically, I want to dive into how you can redefine yourself without any sort of guilt or apology being needed. So to set the stage for this video, let me just ask a question and see how that kind of frames it up for you. Have you ever felt like there's like this fuller, maybe truer, more authentic version of you just maybe just beneath the surface, but you're stuck playing a role that doesn't quite fit anymore? I don't mean giving up your role like as a parent or as an entrepreneur or as the employee within a company or anything like that. Like giving up any other type of role that you feel like you've just taken on as the person that just does everything for everybody or the person that has to show up in this certain way. Like, because I get it. I mean, you're showing up, you're doing what you're supposed to do, right? But deep down, there's something that's off. You're craving more. But then there's that guilt that shows up, or the pressure, or the fear of letting those people down. And like, it keeps you quiet. It keeps you from moving forward. If you are the parent holding everything together, the entrepreneur trying to keep the momentum going, or someone working crazy hours while silently wondering, like, is this all that there is? Like, is this it for me? Like, I see you. I totally get it. And I want to tell you something that I wish someone had told me a whole lot earlier. You are not selfish in any way for wanting to grow, for wanting to be more and have a happier, more fulfilled life than the one you are living right now. You are not ungrateful for wanting that change, and you do not need anybody else's permission, or you don't need their permission slip or anything like that to make a change and to evolve into the person is that you are meant to be. Now, like I said, my name is Jake Talbert. As the founder, author of that book, The GIVER Method, I think I'm going to put down the description where you can go get access to it. It is an Amazon bestseller, tons of 5-star reviews. It came out just back in November, and since then, thousands of people have started to see drastic change in their lives. The parents, the entrepreneurs, the employee who's working, grinding away at the hours and everything. It is designed to help you to unlock what's inside you, things that already exist. Develop these gifts and superpowers, create more value for the people in your life, live a more fulfilled life. How you can really start to make those deeper connections and start to have more joy and wonder that shows up all around you day to day. Now, I've been in the exact same place where you are. I've been in that moment of like feeling stuck in the identity that used to serve you but doesn't anymore. I was there. I was in that identity and I was like, gosh, it served me, but slowly it was draining the life out of me. And so I know what it feels like to wonder if becoming more means that you're losing, the people or purpose, the things that you love by doing that. Now, here's the truth. I want you to hear this, because this is deep, and I want to make sure it connects with you. Growth of any kind is not betrayal to them or to yourself. It is actually a way of honoring the parts of you that are just ready to start breathing again and coming out as a part of that. That permission that you've been waiting for, it starts when you just start taking some sort of an action, even if it's small, even if it's a quiet action, even if no one else sees it or understands why it is that you're doing it. And so today, I want to walk you through these 6 different strategies, steps, principles that are going to help you to redefine yourself without the guilt or apology being needed. These aren't like big or dramatic reinvention strategies. These are really simple, practical shifts that fit into everyday life for people like you. The kind that actually will create momentum and restore more energy in you and reconnect you to who it is that you've always been underneath so that you can live more authentically. If that sounds like something that you need right now, then join me, come along, keep watching. Go ahead if you have not already. If you're new here, please hit subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. I drop new videos throughout the week, and I would not want you to miss out on any of that content that we have that is designed to help you, define your gifts and superpowers and develop them and put you into the evolution where you can build the kind of impact that doesn't burn you out. It actually fills you up even more. Okay? So let's dive in. I want to start rolling through these principles. We've got 6 of them, and I really do think that they're going to have an amazing impact on you. So our first principle is that, to think about it this way, you are not starting over, you are expanding, because if we get real with it, when you think about changing who you are or evolving into a new season, it could feel like you're trying to maybe burn everything down or starting from scratch. I've read a lot of books that it feels like that's the concept of it's easier to burn it down and start from scratch. Like, I've got to say goodbye to the old me to become totally different. And honestly, that is a recipe that creates guilt and confusion and a whole lot of second guessing in yourself. Okay? The thing to understand about this is that growth, it doesn't mean you're erasing who you've been in any way. In fact, it's the complete opposite. It's all about honoring who it is and utilizing your past and experiences to build up who you are. It means that you expand on what's already inside you. You're not tearing down the house. You're adding a new wing. You're opening up some walls. You're upgrading what needs to be upgraded so that you've got more space to breathe. The version of you that got you here, the one that carried all those things, that protected you, that made you survive through all those seasons, that hustled, that coped with it, like, they showed up, and you don't need to shame that version to move forward. You need to thank them and then make space for who it is that you're becoming. I tell people all the time that once you actually discover and develop your gifts and superpowers, like, you are the only person that can provide the value that you can provide to the world, because when you combine your unique gifts and superpowers in the way you're able to show up with them, bringing all of that baggage that you have with you, all the things that you've been through, your wins, your losses, everything, like, you're able to approach those gifts and superpowers and deliver value in a way that nobody else can. So let's talk about this, like how you can actually start to do this. So first thing is, take maybe 10 minutes and write a short letter to your former self. Now, this is not designed to be woo-woo in any sort of a way. It's actually amazing, like, information and science-backed data of how that makes an impact. So don't worry about being fancy. Just be real and honest. Thank yourself for the version that held down when things got really hard. What did they teach you? What did they carry? What are you grateful for? And then, gently name, what it's, name that, hey, it's time for us to move forward. It's time to let go of maybe the beliefs or the habits or the expectations that just don't fit anymore. And that letter can be a really powerful turning point for you, as you start down that path. And you could save it, review it every so often, maybe add to it. Maybe you need to revise it or write a new one down the road when you're writing to the version that has gone through what now you're about to go through. And then you can stretch out yourself, stretch out your identity timeline. Think about the big versions of you across the years. You had the college you, the early career you, maybe new parent you, the pandemic you. For each one, write down what you carried forward. What were the values? What were the strengths and the lessons? And what you've since released. What roles or coping strategies or old rules. It's a simple way to see that you've already been evolving this whole time, and now you're just doing it with more purpose and intention, because fighting your past keeps you stuck. But when we learn to integrate it, to honor it, to build it up, you realize the old versions aren't dead weight. They're actually building blocks. Some of my biggest failures that I've been embarrassed to talk about in the past are actually some of the things that I feel are the most empowering when I describe them to people and help them to plant where they're at so that I can then help them move forward from there. You finally get to move forward without guilt. Growth stops feeling like this betrayal, of who you are, and it starts feeling like what it actually is, becoming more of the whole and authentic version of yourself. Now, our second strategy or principle is your purpose isn't going anywhere, it's growing up. We evolve. One of the biggest reasons people resist change, they think that they're abandoning this purpose or the values that they've already created. They're well, no, it's a whole different version of me. Evolving somehow means they're turning their back on what's mattered most to them for all these years. But hear me on this, your purpose is not fragile. It's not stuck, and it doesn't expire the second that you outgrow an old role. In fact, more often than not, your purpose is right there underneath all of it, quietly growing with you, and you've just locked in your brain the version of it that it was prior. So that thing that you've always cared about, whether it's helping people or building something meaningful, leading with integrity, it hasn't changed. What's changing is how it shows up in your life. That's not betrayal, that's maturity, that's expansion. And in some cases, there may be purpose and values there that you didn't realize have been there the whole time. And until you stop and reflect on them, you may not see that they've been there and that they've been evolving and growing, just waiting for their time to shine. And now is their time to shine. So here's what you want to do as a part of this. Go grab yourself a piece of paper. Draw a line down the middle of it, okay? On the left, I want you to write down, like, what are the core values that you have? What are motivations from earlier seasons of your life, okay? Think back to the younger version of you. What drove you forward? What motivated? What got you excited? What did you stand for? And on the right, I want you to write how those same values could be showing up, or show up, or could be showing up moving forward in like the current season or where you're headed. So like, it could be something like on the left, you're like, hey, I used to lead by doing it all by myself. And then on the right side, it would be now I lead by empowering others and modeling rest that you need. Or on the left side, it could say something like, I used to nurture my kids by, being hands-on 24/7. On the right side, it's like, hey, now I nurture them by teaching them to trust themselves and to instill the right values and principles in them that they can use moving forward. Like, this helps you see that you're not walking away from the purpose you've had. You're just stepping into it deeper. You're actually cultivating it and making it be even more powerful. And then, of course, you can also write out like your purpose progression statement, to anchor things down for you. Something like, hey, I'm evolving from blank to blank while honoring the core value of whatever blank is, fill in the blank. So that might not make sense. So I wrote out an example. I actually typed it out so that way I could read it because I knew I would forget the blanks. So the example that you could do is like, I'm evolving from the hands-on fixer to a mentor who creates space while honoring my core value of growth. Because if you don't see that the thread that connects your past to your present, like, change can feel like chaos. But once you realize your purpose has been with you this entire time, just stretching and refining and maturing along the way, then growth doesn't feel selfish or disloyal anymore. It feels like you're in more of an alignment to keep you moving forward. Now that leads us to the third one. The third one about letting go with gratitude, not guilt. Okay? Something that nobody tells you about growth is that growth hurts. I'm actually certified in grief recovery, and grief is often defined as if there is a change in your daily routine that causes some sort of an emotional reaction. Now notice it's not someone passed away or there was a divorce, and notice that it didn't say that you were sad. There was no negative emotion. It is that there's a change in your routine that causes some sort of an emotional reaction. You can experience grief from that. And so sometimes it hurts. It hurts when you change. It hurts. Like, people get promotions and they look back and they feel lost. They feel disconnected. Even when these things are good, even when it's the step that that you're supposed to be taking. But here's the truth. Every time you evolve, there's something you have to let go of. If you don't take a moment and acknowledge what could be being left behind, that grief, it's never going to disappear. It just hides, and it comes back later as procrastination or guilt or that weird feeling of feeling stuck where everything should be working but somehow it isn't. Maybe you're feeling those feelings now, and it is tied to something from the past that wasn't let go. So that's why I'm such a believer in this simple thing called you need some sort of a let it go ritual. It doesn't have to be dramatic, no full moon and, a sage stick required, unless that's your vibe. I mean, some people that is, but it just needs to be intentional. That's what it's all about. And so what you do is once a week, maybe on Friday evening at the end of the week or Sunday night before you're supposed to, head into the week, take 5 to 10 minutes and ask yourself, what am I ready to release from this season of life? And then write it down. I'm releasing a role or a belief or a habit, or maybe it's a survival pattern that used to protect you, but now it keeps you tired. And then say it out loud. Yes, seriously, whatever you do, say, when you verbalize this thing, it is crazy what it does. Say it out loud. Hey, I'm honored how this served me, and I'm grateful for it, and I'm ready to let it go because now I'm evolving into this version of me. You can just stop right there if you want, or go deeper, make it physical, write it out on a piece of paper, tear it up, burn it down, safely, of course, if you're going to burn it, toss a stone into the body of water, give away something that symbolized the old version of you, make it some sort of a physical reaction, and it plants it even more in your brain. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that you mark the moment and you acknowledge it, because when you don't name what you're letting go of, it will cling to you, and it shows up in your energy and your decisions and your internal self-talk. But when you release it with gratitude, there's no guilt. You're actually creating space for new insights, space for momentum, space for the version of you that's been waiting patiently, to take the lead. It isn't any sort of a weakness. This is your power move. You're saying, I'm done carrying this thing that no longer fits me, and I'm ready for what's next. All right, we're halfway through. Checkpoint. Are we good? Feel free at any point to comment what things are jumping out to you along the way, and we'll kind of revise or hit that on that again later on, okay? So the fourth step or principle, like, give yourself the green light, all right? Something like, this is one of the sneakiest reasons people stay stuck, why they don't move forward. And it's not because they don't want to grow. It's not because they're not ready. It's because they're waiting for someone else to give them the green light, to write the permission slip, to say go. Maybe it's the partner, a spouse, maybe it's a parent, a boss, a mentor, or maybe it's just the quiet voice in your head that's been whispering, who do you think you are to want to want more or to make that change? But here's the truth, and once again, please hear me when I say this. The permission, that you've been waiting for, it is yours. You are allowed to take the permission, write the permission slip, give yourself the green light, the stamp of approval. It is your choice to do that. No one else can hand it to you. And if you don't declare it, if you don't just take that on yourself, you're going to keep looking for approval in places that were never meant to define who it is that you're becoming. This isn't just a mindset shift. If you write down these ideas, and create a inner permission contract with yourself and keep it, write it out, keep it simple. I typed out a version of this, and you can write whatever your own version is, but giving yourself a permission contract to then take the next step of what it is you need to be doing. So I'm going to read you the one I wrote out. I, fill in your name, give myself permission to fill in the blank. To grow, to change, to evolve, to become the person I want to be, to live a more fulfilled life, to discover my gifts and superpowers using the GIVER method and take that and make a greater impact in the world. Whatever that is, fill in the blank. Even if others don't get it, I'm going to honor my growth. I will trust that clarity follows action. And then sign it, date it, post it somewhere where you're going to see it, that when doubt hits, because trust me, it is going to hit. All right? Put it on your mirror, your desk, the locked phone screen on in your phone, wherever that old guilt will tend to creep in. Put it in multiple places, and if you really want to lock it in, you take it a step further. You name your permission blockers. Those are the voices, real or imagined, that tell you you're being selfish, you're being too much, you're out of line for changing, and then respond to each one. In writing, something like, hey, to the voice that says I'm abandoning people, I'm not. I'm becoming someone who can show up better because I'm finally showing up as myself, or some version of that, okay? Because growth, it doesn't wait for any perfect moment or universal applause, and the people who evolve, the ones who start to really live and have a fulfilled life and find joy and wonder in their life and lead with purpose, they're the ones who stop asking for permission to grow and they just start giving it. They give it to themselves and they keep moving forward. You don't need everyone to understand who it is that you're becoming. You just need your own courage to say, I'm allowed to want this and I'm allowed to go after it, and damn it, that's what I'm doing. Now, the fifth thing, your gifts, the things we talked about. So the GIVER method, the G in GIVER stands for gifts, your superpowers. So your gifts, the things you've built and created, those skills, maybe you've developed them into be superpowers. They're not going anywhere. In fact, you want to start to evolve them and make them be even louder. See new versions of them show up. There's that quiet fear that pops up when you start to change. It sounds like, well, what if I start to lose the best parts of me? What if this new path means giving up what I'm known for? And that's totally normal. But the truth is that most people need to hear is that your real gifts, the things that could be superpowers and create so much value in people's lives, they don't disappear when you grow. They just get bigger. That thing that you've always been good at, that core strength that people have always counted you on, it doesn't go away. It evolves. It finds new ways to show up. And when you let it stretch a little more, it often becomes more powerful than it ever was in this old version of life. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to grab a piece of paper. I want you to, once again, split it down the middle. And on the left side, I want you to write down 3 to 5 natural strengths and gifts that you have. The stuff that you've like always been known for. It could be empathy, problem solving, creativity, leadership, making people feel seen, heard, whatever. And then on the right side, I want you to imagine those same gifts if they had more room to breathe. What would that gift look like if you weren't so busy just trying to survive? How might it show up in a different role or at a new scale or through a more aligned version of you? For example, maybe you're a problem solver. Used to mean fixing all the last minute chaos for your team. And well, now it's about building systems that prevent the chaos altogether. Or maybe you're the empathy person, and that used to mean that you were the shoulder to cry on when people needed it. And now it's shaping the way that you design a company culture, or that you raise your kids, or how you show up in everyday conversations with more power. Now, bonus tip, look for what I call there are those gifts, ancestors that are there, that go way back. What did that strength that you have start as? Maybe your visionary leader started as you just being the responsible big sister. Maybe your creativity was your escape hatch as a child. Seeing whatever those roots are reminds you that you've always had this. It's just showing up in different ways today than it did before, and now it's time to evolve them to be something different. Because when you start evolving in this sort of way, it's easy to feel like you might be losing parts of yourself. But when you realize that, gosh, I'm leveling up, and along with me is going to come my gifts that can become superpowers. I'm going to flip the script on this whole thing. You're not drifting from who you are. You're finally letting the version of you speak even louder and live bigger and serve deeper than it could have before. And that leads us into the final principle. Basically, it's make it real even when life is full. I get it. I get it as parents, as entrepreneurs, as the employee who's already grinding away. There's a lot there. Let's be honest. A lot of people talk about personal growth like it requires you have to take some sort of sabbatical or a color-coded journal or the 3 child-free months to go figure yourself out. But that's not your life in any way. You've got kids, you've got clients, you've got a calendar, and it's like a Jenga tower waiting to just fall apart. And a part of you that still knows you were made for more even when that's all there. So let's cut through all the noise. You don't need a full life, you don't need to a full life reset is probably the best way of saying it. You don't need a full reset to start changing. You don't need to burn the bridges or, I need to just completely throw everything away. No. What you need are small and protected pockets of time where your growth gets to lead. That's where this sort of idea, this principle of creating space, strategic, simple space to act like the version of you that's already evolving without blowing up your current life to do it. It's the reason I started making these YouTube videos. I've for years I've been working with and coaching and helping entrepreneurs, small businesses with their tech, their systems, their software to have consistent client journeys, and in order to have people convert better and that they're in more control and all their systems are easier to use. I'm known in that space. When I determined I was coming up with this idea of the GIVER method and writing the book and releasing it, and it was this I need a way to start to get that out there. But I still need to stay true to who I am day to day, working with people, working with businesses and entrepreneurs. That's why I understand the entrepreneurial brain space so much. I understand the parent brain space so much. That's where the videos started. And over time, it's become more and more of the evolution of who I am, where we continue to see increased views and increased engagement and more people taking action on the things that they're doing and more people getting the book and doing more. In the description, I'll put the book link. I'll put some other free resources where you find us on social. People are taking advantage of those. But for you, it's what are the pockets of time? How do you carve out the time to do the thing? It doesn't have to be YouTube videos. It could be anything. So here's what I want you to do. Step 1. You need to set up a container, a courage container, where you've got this recurring window of time. Maybe it's 10 minutes in the week. Maybe it's 20-minute window every week where your only job is to take one step towards who it is that you're becoming. Not thinking about it, not planning it, doing something. You're sending a message. You make a boundary. You sign up for the thing, you speak up, you show up, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be flashy, just make it real. put it on your calendar like it matters, because it does, and protect it. Let the people let people know, like, hey, that's your time. That's your special time. If mornings work for you, like, use them. I'm that person. I call early morning time, which I'm recording this, early in the morning. I call that Jake time, because like it's sacred space to me where I need to get stuff done. I need to get things out in my brain. Maybe it's during your lunch, or maybe it's after bedtime. Like, whatever it is, great. Just pick it. The magic isn't when you do it. It's just doing it with intention and making sure you stay consistent. And then the second thing to go do is create a authenticity map for yourself. Make a list of the parts of you that aren't getting enough air right now. Like, what part of you is ready to be seen more? What feels like you but hasn't made it into your day-to-day yet? And then circle the ones that feel doable. Those like low resistance. What are the micro actions that you can start to take? Those steps you can do, to test the feeling of it without freaking out the entire world. Like, you don't need to, cause yourself more disruption or fear or anything like that. It's like, no, just take one small, tiny step. Maybe that's bringing more creativity into work through a side project, or maybe it's speaking more honestly in the next meeting you have. Like, start small and then expand on it from there, because growth doesn't have to be dramatic to be effective. Like, you don't overhaul everything. You just need that consistent rhythm to stay aligned. And here's the truth behind a lot of this is that if you don't make space for your growth, it's going to get buried under everybody else's expectations. But when you give yourself just that little bit of room, it starts to breathe again. You start to breathe again. This is how you build the life where you don't have to choose between like responsibilities and evolution. I can honor both that align to, and I can align my actions with who it is that I'm becoming. And over time, that alignment creates so much more momentum. So like, let's circle this all together, okay? Here's what I want you to remember as you walk away from this sort of a video. You don't need to feel bad for wanting more. You don't need to shrink because like you are because you're changing. And you definitely don't need anybody else's permission to become the next version of you. Growth is not a betrayal of who you are. It's the deeper expression of who you've always been and who it is that you're becoming. You don't have to overhaul your life or disappear in the mountain, to do this. Like, you can do it right here in the middle of all the crazy, chaos and overwhelm that you already have, while you're parenting, while you're leading, while you're clocking in and out, trying to figure it out. Everything we talked about today, all of these things, whether it's letting go with gratitude, or expanding gifts, or carving out some time, to feel more aligned. Like, they're all built for real life, for real people like you. People who are already carrying a lot, but still feel the spark in them saying like, there's more, and they want to go find it. And hey, that spark, it is not a fluke in any way. It is a sign that, you're here. Like, it's a sign for you to start taking action. So my challenge, like, go pick one of the things we talked about, just one principle, one practice, one small move that feels like something the next version of you would do, and then try it this week. Don't wait for the stars to align. Don't wait for somebody else to tell you it's okay, because the permission, it is yours already. Go get it, go take it, give yourself the green light to do that. Now, if this spoke, to you, if this connected with you in any sort of a way, then once again, I'm going to tell you, go down to the description, go down and click the link to go get the GIVER method, or go to Amazon.com, find the GIVER method. And as you do, it's the best $10 you can invest in yourself. And I want you to do it before prices go up on the books. There's tons of amazing things, resources. There's worksheets you can download that, from the website and things like that. So I highly recommend you do that. Down in the description, I'll also put the links to all the socials, all the, our website, all the places that you can find us, as well as a free resource called the Giver's Roadmap that you can take advantage of. If you found this conversation valuable, then please hit like, subscribe, share this with somebody else who may need it. Maybe someone who's craving growth but might be scared to take that next leap. Drop a comment if things landed for you. I'd love to hear that. And until next time, I'll just say, keep becoming who it is that you are already meant to be. And remember that your evolution is not selfish in any way. It's sacred. And I want you to honor it and to go and do more with it. You've got this. Trust me, I promise you do. And the world is waiting for your unique gifts and superpowers, your unique way of showing up of who it is that you're becoming. So until next time, please have a great day, and we will catch you in our next video.